Good evening. I'm Mike McMann. This is another in the series, Artists of the Kootenays. Tonight we have David Orcutt with us. He is an experimenter with film animation technique, has worked as far back as 1946 with shadow puppets, founding a shadow company, a puppet company in Toronto, worked with another company called Graphic Associates in Toronto in animation and puppet film techniques. Later in 1954 and 57, David worked with CBC in doing shadow puppet technique for television, adapted for television. The series were Timothy T., they were called, Alice Through the Looking Glass, The Peppermint Prince, and in the Peppermint Prince developed a technique of reversing polarity, which we'll talk about later. That is, reversing polarity of a television camera so that he would make an effect that would be interesting and lively that would compete in, say, the broadcast television realms. David moved on in 1957 to work with the Animated Film Associates doing animated station breaks. Later had grants from the UBC School of Education to do audiovisual experiments, and then later from the Leo and Theo Kerner Foundation, once again to continue his audiovisual experiments, and developed what was called total environments that were used as displays in carnivals, department stores, and that sort of thing, three-dimensional puppets and environments that children, adults, anyone could walk into and be involved with the puppets at that time. In 1965, worked as an audiovisual consultant with Expo in 1967, or started, I guess, in 65, and then the work carried right through 1968.
Right through until time of Expo.
Right.
Probably as a consultant, and I had a couple contracts with the Federal Pavilion, Canadian Pavilion, for a multi-projection extravaganza.
Right. Okay, I'll try to wrap up this biography and we can get to the explanation of some of your work. Right. He's also conducted workshops and seminars at York University, Centennial Center of Science and Technology, UBC, Mills College, Tape and Music Center at Oakland, and the Vancouver School of Art. His grants have continued, that is to say, several government organizations, including Canada Council, have recognized that David has a lot to offer as far as the audiovisual experiments that he's doing, and is now working has worked with Canada Council recently, and is now working with the Worldview International Foundation to develop a world visual language. David, from there, where should we start? I see three areas that seem to be, or that are of interest to me. One is the shadow puppet technique, the thing that you developed for CBC, and we have some film sequences of that later on that we'll show the audience so they can see exactly what we're talking about. But maybe we could start there, because that was kind of some of the original source of your, I think, your development in audiovisual technique.
I think where it sort of ties in together is that the techniques I've worked in are particularly effective in video, in film. If you do something for video, you're working within the media of video, and what might be effective in terms of a live puppet show may not be effective on video. So the techniques I've worked in, the shadow puppet technique originally, part of the problem there was to take a very ancient technique, shadow puppetry, and adapt that so specifically it could be useful on television. Mm-hmm. That involved getting rid of the rod shadows, which was technically something of a feat to accomplish.
Let's show the audience one of your rod puppets and let them see what you mean by trying to get rid of the rod shadows.
Well, these were the...
show in front of white background here?
Yeah. Here we go.
There we are. Okay, he's... there. This is what you would see against a certain kind of a background, would be the black outline of the puppet, and essentially what it is a black plastic, I guess.
Yes, well, this would be worked behind a translucent screen. Here's a translucent screen, right, and the puppet is worked behind it. The audience or the camera is in front, and there's a light source behind.
Right.
But it's a matter of then taking that and then developing into an effective tool on video, which
Right.
means working the rod shadows back towards a large scoop light affair,
hard to
having
see
a
the-
special shadow screen here, which is another part of it, so you don't get a hot spot with your lights behind.
Right.
And then tied it in with a 2 or 3 camera operation. We use a 2 camera operation on CBC. Then we also use the telecine room where additional effects would be fed in from there.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the beginning of that. And then when I continued on to the ultraviolet technique puppet, the kind that you were mentioning before, used in peppermint prints,
Mm-hmm.
it was still along the same lines of a technique that was specifically designed for television.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to see one of those?
Sure.
Yeah.
Now this is this would be a different technique, eh?
It's a different technique, but it's still essentially, it started out as a
That shows up
two-dimensional
nicely. That's
two-dimensional puppet.
Yeah.
In fact, I even started using the shadow puppets before,
Right.
like these,
Right.
with fluorescent areas on them.
Uh-huh.
So they started out essentially like shadow puppets. And in this technique, I used a ultraviolet light source in front. We worked this against clear glass. The camera was worked in reverse polarity. Now, mind you, this was black and white television, so that reverse polarity was a different phenomena than from
Let's
color
take
television.
just a short footnote here for people that may not understand what reverse polarity is.
Well, in place of a positive image, you'd get just like a negative image. Just like taking your negative film. You see, it'd be the effect of like seeing a negative film. So we did all the artwork was done in the negative, so that when the polarity was reversed on the television camera, then the artwork would appear to be positive. So you ended up with essentially animated black lines on a white background, looking very much like like cartoon figures.
So this worm would turn out with black lines where the white is,
That's right.
and then white where the black is.
That's right. Yes. And we'd be completely, totally invisible
Uh-huh.
behind there, so that we could work with our hands right in full view. You see.
What keeps
Here you
that's-
see my hand, but
Sure.
ordinarily with
What does keep your hand off the screen now? This is worked. The worm is working up against a what kind
it'd
of
be
a
a
screen?
clear glass screen, just,
Clear
to,
glass
just to
screen.
give something to work it against.
Okay, and the camera's over here.
The camera is there, and the
Right.
ultraviolet light source is out here,
Right.
and then.
Oh, I see. Under the ultraviolet light
But
source.
then we would put a filter over the television camera, so that only the light that would go inside the camera would be the emitted light from the fluorescent areas. But now it's very interesting, these tests that we've done here the other night here on your equipment. We found that with color television, it wasn't necessary to have this filter, and our hands were still quite invisible. I mean, before we had to be so careful that we couldn't open our mouths like this because the teeth would fluoresce. We would wear, in fact, it's still a good idea, we would wear yellow goggles because the ultraviolet light coming in would make the retinas of one's eyes fluoresce and make it difficult sort of to see what you're doing.
It's not dangerous for your
No,
eyes.
no. This is all long range, long wave ultraviolet. It's only
I
the
see.
short ultraviolet waves that are dangerous.
Right.
Glass itself stops the long waves.
I see.
So there's absolutely no danger
But
to
anyway,
it.
go ahead then. That sounds interesting. And we
Uh,
have some of those tests with these kinds of puppets
With
tonight
these
to look at.
with these puppets.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Excellent. Well, before we go to those tests, is there something? Do we have something on film or videotape that we could look at to demonstrate? This is the ultraviolet puppet technique. I also understood that we wanted to talk about one of the other technique that you evolved with puppetry.
Well, the two main techniques I evolved for television were the shadow puppet technique developed for television and the ultraviolet
I
technique
see.
developed.
That's it.
Now there's all sorts of other combinations of the two. I mean, you can take shadow puppets, you can work them on projection equipment that I've developed. and project those shadow puppets up on a large screen and combine them with human shadows. I mean, that's one of the very interesting techniques you can do. And you can do things with combination of the ultraviolet and the shadow puppets together. You can have some ultraviolet material in front, shadow puppets behind. There's various different interesting combinations.
Is that what you meant by the three-dimensional environment that you created?
Well, the three-dimensional, that's partly another period in which I was doing all sorts of things. I'd have, like mazes, I'd have 24 different projectors, wide angle, deep focus. People would wear translucent screens around their head. They'd walk through this whole maze of projection. Everywhere they'd turn, they'd get different combinations of projection. These were the three-dimensional environments that I was speaking of.
Literally, the person carried the screen with them.
They carried the screen with them.
And as they walked in front of whatever combination of projectors, they would pick up the image, and that would be seen by an audience watching them.
Everywhere they turned, they would get different combinations of projectors. In fact, I had one projector that I developed, which is just simply a light bulb, clear filament, vertical filament, a small bulb inside of two tin cans with a little gap in between, so that you'd have light shining out in every way, and then I'd have different transparencies all around here, which then would be projected all totally around. It was like a 350-degree projection device that was made for a couple of hours or so.
That's great. That's interesting. And you did that at Expo, I guess.
I didn't do that at Expo. I did that at several other occasions.
I see.
But,
I was curious if the person with the translucent screen, as they walked through, could they see the image on their screen?
Or they would see, what they would see is a whole combination of images, because everywhere they turned, as they walked, they would walk into new images, like one image here, another image here.
Right.
So they
translucent just means that it lets a certain amount of light through.
Translucent screen is just like translucent is, there you have opaque, which you can't see anything.
Absolutely no light.
You have transparent, like a window, you can see right through, and you have translucent in between.
And
like a shower curtain is usually translucent.
Right, a certain amount of, that's what I was looking for. It was a nice, easy kind of
and
material to explain to the
like
audience.
Like a sheet,
exactly
with the old-fashioned shadow shows were done with a sheet hanging here, and people would get behind and make different shadows. And
so not only could an audience watching the man moving through the multiple images see the images, but the person with the sheet walking through, or whatever the translucent material was, could also see the images too. Then.
Well, yes. Make multiple spectacles.
That's interesting. Where were you in 1960s during the light show era that was happening around that time?
I was sort of the forerunner of the light show tradition in the Vancouver area.
Is that right?
I didn't know they were doing these things down in San Francisco at that time, and so I devised all sorts of different devices, some of which I found were duplicated elsewhere, some weren't. But I had one unit which had a light source inside of a paper basket, a sun gun lamp, a tray down here with water in it, a double Fresnel lens, front surface mirror, projecting lens, and I'd work things in the water, and you get all the swirls and the puppets moving around. I had vertical tanks in which I'd drop in dyes and projecting through, and just sort of like one technique after another, and it was a lot of fun.
The heyday of the psychedelic era.
It was great fun.
That sounds lovely. David, this is interesting, and I think before we move on to your kinograph, the development of your world visual language, that maybe what we ought to do is look at some of the films of your ultraviolet and what are the two techniques you call it? Ultraviolet.
I would start off just showing a little bit of the shadow puppet technique.
The shadow puppet technique.
And then go into the ultraviolet technique as done on the peppermint prints. And then maybe showing a few of the station breaks. So I spent several years making these station breaks for a number of different
they were done
Canadian stations.
With either of those techniques?
They were done with the same technique, but this was done with a camera in place of a television camera. It was done with an ordinary film camera. And that was done by getting we got the reverse technique just simply by releasing the negative, which was very inexpensive. And the thing was very, very, very inexpensive to make. We had these puppets here. I would have a helmet that I'd suspend the puppets on, working on the screen. And then I would work the camera in my foot. This was an operation I had down in my basement, you see. So it was at one time, you see, so that I could turn out all the station breaks. I mean, I could do a station break for all the Canadian stations, you know.
This was for CBC at the time you worked
I did
there.
CBC, but I did for quite a number of other stations
Right.
across Canada.
Oh, that's great.
That was the time they had long station breaks, and you could make a little short film. Then they went to 2-second station breaks. Well, you can't obviously
Right.
make a film for 2 seconds.
You lost your business right there.
Yes,
when
right
I went
there.
to 2-second station breaks. Eh? Okay, well, without further ado, let's take a look at some of your film footage, and we'll come back later and talk to you about world visual language. Right now, shadow puppets and ultraviolet puppet technique.
Oh, then you really are human. Little fish, come closer, quick. See how funny it is, and how ugly.
Hey, stop crowding me. Listen, I've got to help a princess, the pink coral princess.
Oh, that selfish creature. She's nothing but a spoiled, silly little girl.
What are you doing in that tree, Alice?
Oh, hello, Hare. Oh, but I'm awfully glad to see you again.
Come on, I'll help you out. There. That's right. I'm just on my way to the White King. He's over to the side somewhere in another square. But you haven't got very far, have you?
No, you see, I'm at Tweedledum and Tweedledee, and I kept asking them to show me the way out of the wood, but all they did was talk about a walrus and a carpenter, and then they fought over an old rattle, and then the monsters croak him, and oh, but I feel much better now that you're here.
The Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came wetly through the sun she woke, and garbed as it came. And through, the awful blade went snicker, snick.
Gather round, come near, something's going to happen here. Under a magic tree with peppermint prince, that's me.
Somebody's taken my paint.
What's the matter, little pig?
Somebody's taken my paint. Look, the red's all gone, and the blue's all gone, and the yellow's all gone.
No, little pig. Nobody's taken your paints. They have dried up during the winter, that's all.
What we're looking at is the worm puppet that I showed you before. The white areas are fluorescent pigment which is being illuminated by ultraviolet light. I'm operating the puppet standing directly behind it, but as you can see, I am quite invisible. That's because the ultraviolet light is just illuminating the fluorescent areas and not myself.
Well, that was an interesting look at some of your work with ultraviolet techniques in using puppetry and shadow puppets. And now I'd like to move on to the third kind of area that you've done a lot of research and work on, and it seems to be one that a lot of other people in the different foundations, Canada Council, the World Vision Foundation.
Worldview.
Worldview.
Different organization.
Let me clarify that, right. Are interested in your work at developing an international language for, would it be for the deaf, or is it derived from the deaf language?
It's something that the deaf could use, could appreciate, but I'm primarily interested in this from the standpoint of people who are not deaf. I'm interested in from the standpoint of countries like in India, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, countries where you have many different languages. Something that could go to all these different countries and be understood.
They have a problem in those countries.
Well, they have a
with
problem.
Their 80 different dialects and that
Well,
sort of
like
thing.
India has, what, 12, 14 major languages, and over 100 different minor different languages. It's a very, very difficult problem.
I never realized that, but that may be one of the reasons why their whole socio-economic system is a little slower in developing. Partly because of the language.
It's a very important consideration, and it's important consideration if you're doing TV programming. And my feeling is that to get a program that can cut right across language barriers would be extremely valuable. At the present time, I'm particularly interested in the area of children, because I think they're more likely to take to this.
Well, briefly, what is it? You call it kinography or kinographs?
All right, first of all, it's based upon signing. To give you an example, in the sign for me, this is me, you. All right, me would come out like this, just a simple, can you see here? Start drawing here. That's me. All right, now if you don't see the face here, this would be carrying it on a little further, you see. Now, that's not necessary, but there you are. And that'd be you, me, you. I call them kinographs because it's based upon kine, motion drawing.
Right.
All right, now let's make a sentence. I see you. All right, now see refers to the eye, so we'll write the whole sentence here. I see, there's an eye, that's seen. You. I see you. With a vocabulary, I feel, of around 500 signs. I've already worked out a dictionary that probably has close to 1,400 signs, but that's more than really necessary.
It's kind of like going to the Oxford Dictionary when they want to get the what do you call it, the esoteric words or something. They
Well,
look
you can
in
get
your
more and more,
1400
but
dictionary then.
What you want really, the type of signs that you can put together, you can build into units, one on top of another. And you, for example, the word agree, the sign agree, which would be one sign, think, and agree is think same. You see, think same is agree. So you just simply, for agree, you would just simply do sign for think. See this here? Here's think. Put a little action mark there. Think. And agree would be just two fingers. Think same. We'll tie them together, and we have the sign for agree. So in this way, you can build up out of simple signs all sorts of complicated, complex notions. And I'm working for something like 500 or so basic signs that are as universal as possible. Now, this is true more with signs here than it is with words, I mean, very few words have correspondence from one language to another. I mean, the sounds vary so much. But you'll find that the North American Indians, they had a sign for love like that. You'll find that the deaf, completely independently, some of their signs came from France and Europe. They had the sign for love, that. You'll find the same sign over in India. There's many signs like that all around the world that are very, very similar. Mm-hmm. The grammar of all these different sign languages all tend to be very similar because there's a natural way of signing. If you're going to talk about a house, you'll say house big, you know. Mm-hmm. Oops, here we are. I got out the camera. House big. And so it makes sense to put the adjective afterwards. Because when you're signing, you want to say what it is you're talking about first, or what you're signing about, rather. Mm-hmm. Now, with signing for hearing people, there's no need to be silent. I mean, you can use words at the same time. Right. This is a way also of teaching a language, and this is another interest of mine in terms of countries like India and Sri Lanka. If you learn, say, for example, you learn English with signs at the same time, you're much more likely to remember. You can do this with any language. I mean, if it's Spanish, say this is good. Oh, bueno. I see what you bueno. Mean. Yes. And this is bueno, bueno dias. This is the sun, this is the ground. Or bueno noches. This is the moon, this is the ground.
So you're saying you could learn any language faster,
yeah,
knowing the sign language and applying the sign language to the words. And
that's right.
Visually, in memory, it's a way of helping us memorize the language and learn it.
Like in Sri Lanka, all the children learn some English. Not very much, but they learn some English. Mm-hmm. But they're using very old-fashioned methods of learning the English by repetition and the like. But if they were to learn their English with action, with motion, mm-hmm, there would be much more memory to tie things together. Mm-hmm. And what I would like to see is where the Tamil children, the Sinhalese children, both learned their English with the same sign system. Then they could go on and they could speak a combination of Tamil, Sinhalese, English, and as long as they had their signs to refer back to, they would have a common means of communication. Mm-hmm. Now, where I've become interested in this, and this ties in with my own background of doing television shows, is that I've discovered that these symbols, I hadn't thought of this when I started developing this. I've been working for about 5 years, almost full-time in developing this language. And I hadn't realized in the beginning that I was unconsciously thinking of these in terms of puppets and motions. Now that I realize what I've been doing, I'm going through all the signs that I've worked out, all the graphics, with a view of looking at them from the standpoint of how well they can animate, in some cases changing them so that they can fit into an animated format. Mm-hmm. So that you can have then cartoon balloons with your cartoon characters, just like you have cartoon balloons and cartoon books, you see. You can do the same thing with animated films, with puppet films.
So you would use the puppets to explain and demonstrate the language.
Well, the puppets can be used. The puppets can be used in terms of teaching the gestures, teaching the language, sure. But I'm thinking of regular total shows, mm-hmm, that in place of just having sound, you also have these animated images, animated kinographs, animated graphics. Mm-hmm. And with that way, a child can both learn the English, because it's easy to teach these signs. Like in the film that we were working on in Sri Lanka, this was through World View International Foundation. They're a international foundation, practically like an extension of the Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation. Mm-hmm. They're particularly interested in third world problems. And the Norwegian government has funded a fair amount of money to go into this area. Mm-hmm. They're training technicians, television technicians from a number of different countries: the Maldives, Indonesia, Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. Now, what I'm interested in is, in the future at some time, getting a series going that perhaps is in the area of the same age range as Sesame Street, but in place of a New York urban background, having a third world background. And in this series, the children would learn a secret language. Now, they wouldn't be, they'd be told not to tell their parents this secret language. It'd be a secret language, and essentially be a sign language. We find in our tests so far that children learn this very, very readily, because these things are always very, they're all very graphic, like jump is jump. You know,
I see. You always
there's
put
jump.
the action mark where
Yeah.
the...
There's
You
jump.
want to get a close-up on that right there?
Here's jump. Jump.
Okay, she's going to try to go in.
Okay.
Can you get
Now-
in closer there, Sonia?
And over here, if we can look at eat.
She's gonna
See,
get in
eat?
there.
All right,
Try
now
to
this
hold
is the mouth over here. See, the mouth and eat. You go like eat.
it. Uh-huh.
So they're all tied in with motion.
Can we get it back to it there? Or maybe he can go on and talk about the other signs on the same one.
All right, this is a sign here for sleep. All right, just a person with a bunch of Z's coming out of their nose, just sleep.
What's the one here that looks like a bowl? Is that bowl?
Oh, that's just a more abstract sign. That's for more. You see, you're adding more, more.
I see.
And
And this one here that's rolling off the flat
oh,
line?
that's off.
That's off.
Yeah, you'd have on and off, and that's
I
off.
see.
Something's off.
Okay.
Here's a few more of the signs. All right, this is obviously happy.
Keep it up.
This sign here, this is want. We can see, I want. See, I want. Now this other sign is slide. See, slide. And this sign obviously down here is kick. See, we had jump before, now we have kick. And this sign down here is no. And we've already gone through this sign before, which
C,
is
right.
C.
What was this one again here with the S? The S on the top and the little mark.
Oh, well, that's just, you see that up there again? This one here?
Mhm.
Okay, that's want. Looking at a side view, if we can come here, is I want.
Oh, I see.
So, I mean, I could sign a whole sentence. I want you come here now. Or I want you eat. You see, whatever you...
That's great. I'm curious now, with your travels, you've been to Sri Lanka now for what? How much time?
Oh, I went first in '79. I spent close to 5 months there. I was back again this past year, the earlier part of this year. I was there for about 4 months.
So have you had time now, in the amount of time that you've been to Sri Lanka, to see how this language is taking hold? Are the people themselves the ones you are working with? I'm not sure how you're approaching it. Or have you gotten to the stage yet where you're teaching people directly the language?
We did a video film in which it's just a simple story. It has about 18 symbols in it. And we figured that 18 symbols were a reasonable number of symbols to teach at the first part of the film. The first part, I and another person were doing various skits that teach these symbols. Some of the ones you saw here, I mean on, off, eat. And then the film just uses these 18 symbols. Now, these symbols are used inside the cartoon balloons that the different characters speak. So that having learned the symbols of the first part of the film, then they can go ahead and understand the film. And even though they don't understand English, we'll use English at the same time here. It doesn't make any difference because that's obviously eat. They've already learned it, you see. They've learned from the standpoint of the hand gesture, and they've learned it also in the case of the, where are we? Lost it. Oh, you have it. That's why I've lost it.
I wasn't sure what you were looking for there.
Here we have eat.
Okay, back where you were. There you go.
There we go. Which is...
I'm curious if the language is taking hold. Are people using it?
All right. We've done this film. It's not completed yet. We've had a chance to show it to a number of people there. The idea seems to work very well. There's a number of people there who are quite interested in it. The worldview people are interested in further experimentations along this line. One can never know any of these things for certain, but from what I've seen so far, with the speed that children learn these signs, that there's every reason to think that this can be an effective device. I think the approach here is that you do a puppet show, you do a show for children. That's a good show in itself. All right, so it has that going for it. It could be understood with English alone by people understanding English. And I am quite sure from our experiment so far that somebody learning the graphics at the beginning could go ahead and watch this and understand the English, even though they've had no background in English at all. You could do this for any language. You could do it for French or Spanish.
As you say, it's an international language, and it wouldn't matter.
It just happens in India and Sri Lanka. India is a more common language than any other foreign language.
Well, it's fascinating, David, and it seems to me that it's not only interesting as far as the concept, but the ramifications of it could be really important to some of the backward and slower developing countries.
I think there's another ramification in terms of children who have learning difficulties. I mean, a lot of children have difficulty learning to read. Quite often these children are quite reasonably bright children. They can be quite bright. But they have what's called mixed lateralization. They, in place of just having the left hemisphere taking care of the linear, sequential stuff, the reading, writing things, and the right hemisphere, the visual, spatial, kinesthetic, they have inputs happening from both sides of the brain at the same time, which makes it difficult for them to do linear tasks, I mean, like reading. It's been done with experimentations before that some of these children will actually learn faster with Chinese writing than they will with English, because in Chinese writing it's all there at once. It uses both sides of the brain. So that there's a neurological aspect to this as well, that in learning to read with these kind of graphics, you're using more your total mental capacity. You're using all your brain, both your left brain and your right brain.
Interesting, and so the language would be important in helping those children then too. Could help them out in their,
well, this is
learning
part of the
processes.
reason I mean, admittedly, I got into this because my youngest son had learning difficulties, and partly because of that, I got into this. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, a lot of what I learned too late to really be effective. I mean, it would have been around 8, 9, 10, and through there that it would have been most effective.
Right.
But as a result of doing a lot of the wrong things at that time, I got into learning what should be done.
Well, that's interesting that your children were an inspiration.
Oh, yes, very definitely.
Getting into this. Okay, our time is running out now. I want to thank you very much for helping us with the experiments. I'm interested in the experiments you were able to do in our studio with our cameras, and I hope they'll be of help to you in Sri Lanka when you go back to India.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Good night now. This has been another in a series of Artists of the Kootenays. David is a local artist, by the way, lives up in Slocan Valley. Thank you very much for coming, and good night.